Right guys, welcome now to Finch Friday, your weekly golf Q&A, and as always I will be answering your questions which you have posted over social media. And I've just got a new lighting system and I'm going to use this as a bit of an opportunity to start changing around slightly how Finch Friday and Tech Tuesday are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the questions beforehand. I'm going to pick out 5 questions which I'm going to focus on, and then I'm going to go through those 5 questions. And they are today: tips on lasting the whole round, not just 9 holes, so maintaining energy levels for the whole round. Setting up some kind of practice drills and practice environment at home so you can keep yourself going throughout the winter months. Why myself and Rick use GC2 and FlightScope over TrackMan. The speed at which current Nike staff players are moving to other equipment brands. And why players don't just mix up their golf bags and why they stick to particularly one manufacturer. So first question up from your golf blog is all about maintaining energy levels throughout the round, not just over 9 holes, and also what stand bag might be useful for this. I think that's the way that the question's been worded anyway. This is an interesting one because a lot of people do come into lessons with myself down at Quest Academy and they do talk about how they can start a round well, they can build a round well, they can play well, especially in the middle of the round. But as they start to get to the end of the round, they feel themselves losing energy, they feel themselves losing concentration, and their scores suffer. Now, unfortunately, this isn't so much a golf tip, this is just purely a fitness and a health tip. If you're getting to the end of the round and you cannot maintain your energy levels, the chances are that's not got a massive amount to do with your technique. It can do in a roundabout way, which I'll get onto in a moment. But if you want to improve your energy levels, you've just got to get healthy, you've got to get fitter. This is important for golfers of every level. You know, there's a reason why the top pros dedicate so much time now to health and fitness. It's not just so they can hit the ball further, that they can swing more consistently. It's the fact that these guys are on the move so much. They're flying to different countries, they're playing in events week in, week out, and they're maintaining an exceptionally consistent level of performance. And one of the reasons for that is they're fit, they're healthy, their bodies can adapt and can cope with the amount of work that they're putting it through. And the fact is that a lot of guys who go out at the weekend and who are only playing, say, in a Saturday comp or a Sunday comp, during the week they may have a very sedentary, is that the right word? I think that's the word anyway. It's unrealistic for people who may sit at a desk all week, which is what the point I was trying to make, to then go out a weekend and expect their energy levels to last a full 18 holes. It just doesn't work like that. If you're not healthy but then putting yourself into a physically demanding activity, you will see the consequences of that. And the only real answer that I can give to this is to try and get yourself fitter. It's something that I'm trying to do at this moment in time as well. You can follow me along on this journey. From a technical standpoint, the only thing I will say is if you want to improve your technique, so let's say you are a high 20s handicap and you manage to get your scores down so your handicap drops to, say, the low teens, generally you'll be walking less on the course because you won't be looking for your ball as much. That's where technique comes into play. And also you can use your body more efficiently as well when you have a good swing as well. So this next question is from _Torrin_Mills, and this is all about setting up some kind of practice facility at home to make sure that you don't lose your game over the winter. Interestingly enough, Torrin kind of made the point that throughout the winter he wants to try and maintain his current ability, and I think that's an interesting way of looking at things. First of all, there are lots of things you can do at home to try and keep yourself in the golfing environment, if that makes sense. So you can do the simple things like buying a putting mat. You can do practice swings at home. If you've got space in a garage, you can maybe set up a small net. If you're lucky enough to have a lot of space in your garden, you can maybe set up a hitting net as well. It all depends a lot on the location that you have. For example, in the UK, normally during the winter it's wet, it's miserable, it's chilly, but it very rarely gets to the point where it's 3 feet under snow. There are some people in North America where the fact is at this time of the year until the spring you're not going to be able to play golf. It's just going to be under snow. So some people do have different limitations on what they can do, but there are lots of indoor golf drills that you can do if you're trying to work on something within your game as well. I wouldn't think about winter practice as a way just to try and maintain your current level. if you're not going to be going out to the course as much, try and use the winter as a chance to improve. Try and use the winter as a time where you can try and build your golf game, where you can get it ready for next season and actually hit the ground running. This question is from mchia231, and this is all about the launch monitors that we use down at the Quest Golf Academy and why we use GC2 and HMT, the head measuring technology, rather than the TrackMan. Well, there's a couple of things to say here, because we also use the FlightScope X2 system, which is an equivalent to TrackMan. Both systems have their own fans. I had the choice really between the FlightScope and a TrackMan, and the TrackMan I think was £6,000 more expensive, and really I didn't see that much of a difference between the results that the two systems were giving to warrant buying the TrackMan. The one thing that the TrackMan has, it has tour validation, so a lot of the pros use it. Now, I'm not 100% sure, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, if that's because it is so much more accurate than anything else, or if it's just the fact that TrackMan are getting their units in the right hands, because that obviously makes a massive difference. One of the reasons that we use the GC2 and the HMT is it's a closed data system. Now, with a closed data system, the GC2 and the HMT reads what's happening at impact by taking lots of pictures. Now, that's very different than the TrackMan and the FlightScope system, which uses radar to track what the ball is doing. Both those units also have club head tracking technology, but they can't see what happens to the club face, whereas GC2 and HMT can. Now, that's very, very important, because where you strike the ball on the club face can have a massive effect on where the ball goes. And TrackMan and FlightScope, they can only really guess at that. As far as which unit is better, certainly the GC2 and with the HMT attachment is better for reading what happens at impact, very similar because it's taking pictures. The one thing that it does then is it extrapolates from all the calculations that it makes, how far the ball goes, how far it carries, and all the rest of it. It gives that impression based on a perfect day. The problem with that is, so someone can be coming in for lessons and they can be drilling a 7-iron, but into a headwind in the middle of November, the ball is going to be going a lot shorter on the driving range than it is with the GC2 simulator software. So that's the only real issue. But then you can say, well, okay, we'll switch this over to the FlightScope and then we will see what you're doing today. Using a system like that is absolutely invaluable, and it makes the lessons at the Academy so much better and so much more beneficial. This next question is from Spooky Fish Golf, and it's all about how Nike players are very quickly starting to shift over to other equipment manufacturers other than Nike. Now, first of all, I think what you have to do is have a look at the Nike contracts. Now, from what I understand, the way that the Nike contract works is if you are paying a player $5 million a year, for example, and that contract was written before Nike had decided to stop making hardware, that contract is still valid for the term of period. So if someone signed a 5-year deal on $5 million a year, that would still be valid for that time period. However, if Callaway, for example, came in and offered that player $2 million to play their equipment, what would happen is that $2 million would be subtracted from the Nike contract. So therefore, that player would still make their $5 million, but they may still only get that $3 million from Nike from wearing the clothing, for example. If a clothing equipment then came in and said, well, we want to pay you this for wearing our clothing, that would then stop the Nike contract, because within the Nike contract there is that clause that the staff players wear the uniforms as well. Now, that's just what I've heard about how the Nike contracts are structured. I may be wrong on that, but that's the information that I've received anyway. What I would say about the golfers who are changing out of the Nike equipment and going into other manufacturers, why not? I mean, that's the real simple answer to this. The fact is, they know Nike's not going to be making any more hardware. There's no point waiting around with Nike equipment to see what's going to be coming next, because nothing's going to be coming next. So if someone is offered a Callaway driver, a TaylorMade driver, obviously with Rory's example, to go in the bag rather than the Nike stuff, there's there's no reason for them not to try that. There's no reason for them not to say, well, okay, this is decent equipment. Let's have a go with it. Let's have a play with it. Let's see what happens. I mean, a lot of the Nike players were just literally ejected out into the sphere of not knowing what's going to be happening next with their equipment manufacturers. Pretty much all of them obviously securing the knowledge that someone's going to pick them up. But really, they're in quite an interesting position where they might be like, well, God, what am I going to do? But then go, well, actually, I'll have a go with that. I'll have a go with this. I'll have a try with that. I'll have a go with all these different things. And if they really like it, they can go up to Mr. PXG and say, well, you know what? I like your stuff. Do you want to sign me? Okay, that'd be lovely. So this question is from Matthew_C4, and this is all about asking if manufacturers actually make the same quality of equipment, and if they don't, why don't players just pick and choose from the different manufacturers, and if it's all about the money. I think the fact is, Matthew, it is a lot about money. If TaylorMade come to you and say, listen, we want to offer you £1 million a year to play our equipment. The fact is that that golfer might not be guaranteed to make that money during the year. No golfer is. Even the very best players in the world can enter a season and have a shocking time. For whatever reason, they lose their swing, they can't putt, they can't make cuts, they can't make any money. If an equipment manufacturer offers them a contract that says, listen, play our stuff, we're going to pay you this, they are going to say yes. That is human nature. Anyone would do that. As far as different manufacturers having different quality of clubs, at this moment in time, the top manufacturers are so close together, and it's fractions between them in some areas, from fairway woods to drivers to irons. You could say, well, maybe Mizuno make better irons than TaylorMade, or TaylorMade make better drivers than Titleist, or obviously these are all very, very close together. The fact is that they all make very, very, very good products, and the majority of these players could stick any of the top manufacturers' brands in there, and in top of the manufacturers' clubs in their bags, and perform well. So a player to mix and match between different brands, is it going to make that much of a difference? Probably not. And will that annoy potential sponsors? Definitely. Now, there are grey areas, because the fact is some equipment manufacturers aren't actually that bothered about some of the clubs that they produce. For example, Mizuno staff players and Srixon Cleveland staff players, I know this for example from friends that I have on tour who play, they are contracted to a certain number of clubs. So I know some Mizuno players who are contracted to simply irons, and as long as they put Mizuno head cover on whatever else they use, that's absolutely fine. And it's the same with Srixon Cleveland. I had a friend who, I think he had to have 12 clubs? I think it was 12 clubs, and he chose the irons and the wedges of Srixon Cleveland, which he would do. But then he also got a separate offer of a contract from TaylorMade to use the driver in the fairway woods. That was happy days, because all he had to do literally was just put the Srixon Cleveland head covers on the TaylorMade drivers, and then he had his Srixon contract, and he also had his driver and his fairway wood contract. Then he had his shoe contract and his clothing contracts as well. And that's how these players make the money without even lifting up the clubs. But they need that money. It's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't quite understand about certainly lower level European Tour professionals, and I'm sure PGA Tour professionals as well. When they first get on tour, there's no guarantee that they're going to make any money. And traveling around all these different places costs a lot. Especially in Europe, where you have to get really random flights to very far away countries and stay in these hotels, get your caddies out there and all the rest of it. It costs a lot of dough, and a lot of that sponsorship money, especially for the lower level players, can get evaporated so quickly. And then the pressure's on to try and make the money from the tournament. Yes, it's still a fantastic life, but certainly for the lower end of the spectrum, I think a lot of people don't quite understand that it's not the full glamorous lifestyle that many people assume that it is. But never feel sorry for professional golfers. Still have a fantastic life. Right guys, thank you so much for watching. Please comment below. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on all these things discussed today. Do you like the format of the Finch Friday when I do it in this way? I think this is what I want to settle with. Please comment below. Follow me on my other social media platforms as well, which are in the description link below, and of course subscribe to the channel. Right guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.